So my name is Shalom. I'm the managing director over here in UK at Fyber, working with the company for around 6.5 years. I've been around, and we'll be speaking today about user lifetime value. So in order to understand the user lifetime value, we need to understand how the lifetime value from in-app purchases and also the lifetime value from the advertising side, right? In order to combine the both together. In the in-app purchases, it's a little bit more trivial. We understand how much the user is paying, so we can work around a little bit easier. On the advertising side, however, it's still a big challenge. What can we do as an industry? What are the solutions? We'll speak about the in-app advertising in this session. So the user lifetime value from the advertising side. Why is it so complicated? Why up until now we haven't managed to crack it? So in order to understand how we get the user lifetime value from advertising, we need to understand what are the problems. So there are currently two problems in the industry, within the in-app world. So the first problem is that it's really hard to accurately calculate the revenue per user from advertising. If you want to get the advertising per IDFA, serious problem, right? Not easy. The second thing is that we have market imbalance in an industry. And we'll speak about those topics and see how we can solve them. So why is it so difficult to find how much each and every user generates from ads? Why is it? In order to understand why it's so difficult, we need to go back, or we need to analyze the typical mediation stack from the gaming app perspective. So we have a typical application, and we have certain mediated partners inside. You have Facebook, you have Chartboost, AdColony, Vangel, Unity, AppLovin, all the guys. Very nice. How do we score them? We score them according to reporting API, right? We understand how much each and every network generated for us. We do very sophisticated calculations. We go create tiers, instances, segment them, and eventually go to the first look, Facebook, the second look, the fourth look, and etc. This is how the industry was working up until now. This is how all the other mediations are also working. It's not only Fyber. All the mediations in the industry are eventually having this mediation. You have Fyber, you have all the other players that are mediating all those networks. But recently we have decided to change it a little bit within Fyber. We have decided to change the shift. And you probably have seen this slide. It comes from our sales decks. We have flattened the waterfall. We have decided that it's much more effective to put all of them in parallel rather than have them in sequential mode. So you have the programmatic buyers, you have the DSPs, you have the direct, you have all the gang in one place. Great party. We have flattened the waterfall and giving everyone to compete in real time, an impression level, on each and every user. Let's dive deeper a little bit into it. So what does it consist of? You have over here the programmatic buyers, the DSPs. The DSPs are real-time buyers that are buying according to open measurement RTB, open measurement protocols. The open measurement protocols were invented back then in 2010, came and said that on each and every user, IDFA, we have to bid and commit with a specific price. This is how we have more than 100 of these DSPs all over the world, having an exchange, buying. Great. Recently, we have a new wave of buyers that are at Facebook, at AdColony, Tapjoy, that also get to keep their SDK within the client side, within the application. And those are buyers, they have developed a bidder, and they are bidding on each and every impression level and participating within the auction in parallel with everyone else. Now, if all the industry was programmatically buying, meaning committing accurate CPM level, accurate price, then we could calculate the user lifetime value very easily because we have the committed price. But it's not. Why it is not? Because we still have buyers that are not buying programmatically. We still have buyers that are still buying on a very old-fashioned reporting APIs. Those reporting APIs we'll see about in a second, they are complicated and they're not necessarily accurate. What we need to do within the industry, we need to have those discussions with all the buyers in the industry and explain them why is it so important for them to move into bidding committed pricing. This is how we'll change the industry. Because eventually, guys, the calculating IDFA per user is not a rocket science, right? It should be quite easy. We just need to make this shift within the buyers. We get some questions asked by some publishers asking about the programmatic evolution. Is programmatic scalable? Does it bring money with it? What's going on? Is it good? So one thing that is undeniable within programmatic is the fact that we can actually see what happens in each and every transaction, in each and every user, in each and every impression. The amount of granularity and data that we have within programmatic doesn't exist with the mediated world. So this is the problem. So we are relying, as we said, on infamous reporting API. Who used this? Who is playing with these kind of things, right? Very sexy. You have the platform, you have the country, you have the size, you have 5, 6, 7 dimensions over here. And this is how you calculate the revenue per user. So if you're trying to calculate the revenue per user, per IDFA from this thing, as most of the publishers trying to do, then you have a long way to go and you have lots of assumptions to make because it's not necessarily accurate. And we'll show in a demonstration in a second explaining why it's not accurate. So this is the first problem that we have. Not all of them programmatic. The second problem that we have in the market is market imbalance. What does it mean, market imbalance? Guys, secret, nobody wanted to share with the publishers any data. Nobody wanted to share information. Asymmetry is not an in-app term. It's actually an economic term. Comes and says that within negotiation, when one side knows much more than the other side, this side is using this information in order to have much more bidding, much more knowledge into getting a better deal and get a better negotiation terms, basically. And if we're going back to the in-app world and using this data asymmetry, then we see that the buyers in each and every stage knew much more than the sellers. They knew the location, they knew the age, they knew the income level, they had much higher scope of much better view in terms of they knew what kind of applications the user was clicking, from which applications the user was coming, on which kind of ads the user clicked. So they had much more information than the sellers. And this information was used by the buyers in order to have a smarter and better and wiser decision making. So, to summarize the problems, we have one problem is we can't actually get the user per DFA and from the advertising side, and the second that we have the market imbalance. What kind of solutions the industry actually tried to come up with? Accurate revenue per user is hard to get, and then we spoke about it that we are going to the reporting API. Within the reporting APIs, you can see you have several dimensions. So what basically it was trying to do, take all those buckets, aggregate the amount of revenue from each and every bucket, divide per amount of user, bam, we have amazing reporting. We have amazing calculation. And let's put it into practice. This is, for example, the reality. You have 999 users out of 1,000. Those 999, it's very extreme, of course, example, generating 0 revenue from ads. Why are they generating 0 revenue from ads? They don't watch ads. DSPs are not targeting them. They're not relevant. They have limited ad tracking. Basically, 0 money from advertising. And you have one user that is generating 1,000. Fat ad well. He is watching constantly and playing and watching constantly and clicking on the ads. Generating $1,000. How will that reflect into your reporting? You have 1,000 users, a cohort, and each and every user eventually generates $1. You take 1,000, divide by 1,000. This is your reporting API. $1 from each and every user. Very accurate. Very precise. Like that. Will you hang this picture on your wall? Or would you rather to have an accurate one? This is exactly how it is. This is reporting versus programmatic versus predicted, guesstimated. This is what we have today. The second solution is the impression level revenue data. And what does it basically mean? We create an auction. We choose a winner. We know how much the winner is paying. We are taking this impression, communicating back to the client side and telling, because this impression is worth, for example, on 2 prices that we have, the programmatic and the predicted, if the impression and the programmatic side, which is a committed price, paid 1 cent for this impression, meaning $10 CPM, bam, this is a $10 CPM. The second is predicted. As we said, we're using mock bidders, which basically saying, predicting how much those non-programmatic networks are about to pay, and saying that this is a mediated networks, and this is the price that they're paying. And eventually everything has to come in this example. CPM price, not CPI, not CPE, not CPL, not CPM with a dollar sign, not euro, not pounds, where Brexit, where everything is with dollar sign. It's really important. This is how this industry is getting into some kind of equation. This is how it looks like. It's not exactly how it looks like, but this is how we made it a little bit more visual. So you have the impression level, you have the session ID. Now think about it. Session ID is something that you as a publishers have. You have a lot of information over there. You take the session ID, you combine it with the impression level, you have the geo, you have the SDK versions, you have lots of information in which eventually you see that this is a programmatic price, this is a CPM, you know from where the user came from, for example, from a user acquisition on network X. And you're able to play with this, with this data. Now, if you take this data and put it on with different teams, data teams within your company, they can do wonders out of it. And this is the predicted one coming and saying that this is a predicted. Now, what's the thing over here? You can come and say, most of my buyers that are buying my application today are not programmatic. What do we do with that? So there are two answers for that. A, we have to continue those discussions within us, within the publishers, within the buyers, within the ecosystem, to move buyers into programmatic because it creates ease of operation. No more so much tiers. Now, sometimes I'm speaking with publishers and asking them how much they optimize, how many times they go to each and every tier and said, and you can see the faces. Yeah, we do it. As much as needed. It's tiresome, it's not efficient, it's not easy, and everyone needs to progress. Our industry needs to progress as well. So the first one, as we said, is to actually have those discussions with all the buyers in the industry, with all the publishers, buyers, everyone. And the second thing that we have to do is to differentiate. Think about that you have a scenario in which a company takes a predicted CPM and actually uses it to score networks. Or a second way, you have a company that takes a predicted CPM and embeds it within the auction, enabling this predicted CPM to participate in real time with all the real-time bidders. What kind of value do we get? We bring them all into one unified solution, auction. So this is what we have. As we said, we're taking the impression level revenue data, putting over there back to on the client side. You can communicate, of course, with the SDKs that are based within the application, like attribution companies. You can give this information to attribution. They can generate much more granular reporting. They can use it for your user acquisition in the future. So many things that we can do over here. And eventually we come and say that we have two ways, right, to close the loop. We have one way in order to calculate the lifetime value of a user, you have the advertising lifetime value and you have the in-app purchases. In order for us to calculate it properly, we actually partnered with a company called Game of Whales, communicating impression level revenue data. And Game of Whales is a company founded by industry veterans from the gaming space, from DeeMedya. They have built very smart artificial intelligence that knows how to identify advertising versus in-app purchases. Think about it, that you generate additional $7,000 from advertising. But in the same time, you decrease your in-app purchases by $5,000. So are you looking on the 7,000 only? It's a combination. And this combination, this exclusive partnership that we have, a unique partnership, enables finally publishers to see the whole umbrella of the user acquisition, of the advertising and the in-app purchases in one place. I would like to call this gentleman, Noam, over here to share a little bit more information about DeeMedya.
My name is Noam Kagan. I am working in DeeMedya. I'm the managing director. We are a mobile game publisher. We most know for the Trial XTREME series. It is a motorcycle game, generated about 250 million downloads so far. We have offices in the US, in Israel, and in Russia. In DeeMedya, we are trying to work with the industry most advanced tools and to help us manage our traffic most efficiently and to automate time-consuming tasks as much as possible. So for us, Game of Whales was an easy choice. Game of Whales, if you don't know them yet, it's basically a fully automatically set of tools with the goal of increasing any KPIs in any mobile game fully automatically. I know it sounds a little bit like science fiction to increase KPIs like LTV and retention without causing more work for your team. So I'll elaborate how it is done exactly. This is our game. Right now, Game of Whales AI control all the special offers in our game. The AI deciding the user that will receive a special offer, when they will receive the special offer, and of course the amount of the discount. If the AI is identifying a user that is not going to convert organically, the AI will look for the sweet point. For example, a user just lost a tournament. He don't have a lot of coins, he understands that he needs to upgrade his gear, so the AI will send him an offer, a crazy offer, 90% discount on the next motorcycle. It is a great offer, of course, knowingly that the user still don't have enough coins to redeem that offer without making an in-app purchase in the game. So all the time we are pushing the user to make another in-app purchase in the game, and this is how we're increasing the LTV of the game. Same idea for retention. Because the AI know every user in the game, the AI know the amount of resources the user have. When was the last time he leveled up? If he's winning right now, if he's losing, when was the last time the user made a when he bought a significant in-game items in the game? And the AI can predict, it can identify patterns and predict when the user is going to churn. And just a minute before the user is going to leave my game forever and delete him, he will receive a great offer or even a gift from the AI, convincing him to keep on playing the game, to keep on being engaged. Or maybe the AI will decide that this user is not going to spend any more money in the game. This is the right time to cross-promote him to another one of the company game. I like to think of the AI like as the perfect team of data analysis. They're working 24/7. They know every user in my game, and they don't have any common sense. They're only taking data-driven decision, taking every offer, testing it, leaving a control group, and checking the long-term effect of every offer. Having one thing in mind, increasing the LTV of every user. Now, if I have a game that a large portion of the LTV of the game comes from ads, this is a problem. I can, of course, take all the revenue the users are making and dividing them equally along all the users like Shalom just demonstrated, and I'm sure that most of you are still doing. But, of course, it's not good enough. The users are not equal. They're not generating the same amount of ad revenue, and we shouldn't treating them the same. So luckily, Game of Well was able to receive this information from Fyber. And first of all, for the first time, I now have a dashboard that updated real time, where I can see all the in-app purchase and ad revenue in the game, which someone like me that addicted to numbers and checking the dashboard 50 times a day, it is a big deal. But this is basic. And when we're talking about precise ad revenue for every user, the first usage that comes to mind is for the UA team, of course. The UA team need to know the value of every user in the game and the ROI of every UA campaign. So let's say that the user acquisition manager likes to start a CPA campaign to pay only for users that are doing 5 sessions in the game. How many of you know what is the LTV of a user that's doing 5 sessions in the game? I thought so. This is a very difficult question and used to take a lot of time and resource from the company to answer, of course. Right now, this is the Game of Well is the main tool for a user acquisition manager. All you need to do is go to the dashboard, filter users that are doing 5 sessions, and receive the LTV of those users. We can see that user in Germany that did 5 sessions in my game have an in-app purchase LTV of $5 and ads LTV of 20 cents. He can, of course, export all this data and to receive it per user in order to compare it to the UA campaign and to know the ROI, the exact ROI of every user. When we are talking about precise ads revenue, there's one thing that we can now know. We can identify the ad whales, users that never made in-app purchase in their lifetime, but still worth more than $100 for us. Let's speak about whales a little bit. As I mentioned in the beginning, all the communication with our users are being controlled by the AI. We're not doing anything manually. But, called me old-fashioned, when a user is spending more than $1,000 in my game, I like to take things a little bit more personal. So for those users, we're still managing them manually. We can, of course, see all of the users, what they're doing in the game, when was the last time they logged in, when the last time they made the in-app purchase, if they're playing more of the company games. And I can, of course, choose to interact with them manually. I can send them an in-game offer, or I can send them a push. Now, this is a good point when talking about user level. When is the best time to send a push notification for the users? The right answer is that there isn't any right answer. Look at this user. He's playing most of his session between midnight and 2 a.m. Of course, it won't come across my mind to send him a push at 1 a.m. if I wouldn't know the users. And if I will catch him in the right time, after putting the kids to sleep and finished everything, and sit down ready to play, and then he will receive a push message for me, he will play my game. I can assure you that much. The last thing I will talk about is A/B testing. I'm sure that you all know how important is A/B testing and that we should test everything. I'm not going to say that, of course, but getting all the information about the in-app purchase and ads revenue of all the users means that I can now use the Game of Well A/B testing tool to test different ad logic. Should I show an interstitial ad after every level? Should I show interstitial ad every 5 levels? I can now test all of those things and see how it's affecting the ads, LTV, and also the in-app purchase KPIs. Maybe I increase the ad revenue, but I'm really hurting the conversion rate of the payers. And before we're releasing a game, we usually do at least 12 different ad logics in our game. Okay, I'll just summarize and say that the industry is changing for the best, in my opinion. First of all, we can now show the exact LTV, ads LTV of every user. Go to your user acquisition manager, tell them that now they can give a precise ROI of every campaign. They will thank you for that. I can assure you that much. The analytic level is also moving from the segment level that usually most companies manage between 10 and 15 segments of users in the game. The AI can control much more than that, of course. And every user is different and have different needs, and we should track them individually. And also start taking the time-consuming tests and moving them to the AI. He won't mind, and most chances that he will actually do a better job. Just from changing our waterfall, from manual waterfall to Fyber real-time bidding, not only we increased the ad revenue in our game, but we also saved a few hours a week because we didn't need to manage that and changing that all the time. So I hope that's it. I hope that you able to receive a few things from this lecture. This is my mail, if you can see it. It's Phil, if you have any question or like to receive more information, please feel free to ping me anytime.